Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Soloing the Stalker, City of Heroes, and we're on a second story arc for Mercedes Sheldon. We actually did finish the Dirge of Chaos, and we're now on the Magic Man story. Now, this one's going to be a tough one. The final mission in this one is really tough because you fight like the same boss 3 times in a row. Basically, there are multiple versions of him from different time periods, I think. And you have to fight him and then fight him again and fight him again, and that can be really tough. So we're probably going to want to get some endurance, catch a breath. If you noticed in the last episode, we were having a little bit more endurance problems than we had been having. The reason for that is Siphon Life, right? We don't have endurance recharge or accuracy enhancers. We don't have anything on Siphon Life. So if you look here at the endurance costs, it's 5 endurance for Smite, 8 for Shadow Maul. We'll skip Assassin because that's different. Shadow Punch is 3, and Siphon Life is 10, right? So that is other than Assassin's Eclipse, which costs 10 endurance, but it also one-shots people. Siphon Life is doing 70 damage, which is on a par with unenhanced. It's in between unenhanced. Well, let's see. It's better than unenhanced Shadow Maul. Better than unenhanced Smite. It's obviously not as good as that. So it's our second most damaging attack, right? It can also heal us for that amount, which is awesome, but we don't have any enhancers on it, so that is going to be a little bit of a drag on our endurance until we get, recharge or endurance reducers or whatever. However, since we're level 24, I don't really see the point of buying a level 25 enhancer that's just going to go expiring in another level. So we're going to go ahead and just, if we find something that we can slot in there, we will. Otherwise, we'll just wait until level 27 when we will slot in our level 30 enhancements. At that point, probably we will have some extra slots on Siphon Life. My guess is that by the time we hit 30, all of our attacks will have everything but damage enhancers on them, because I want to make sure we hit, and I want to make sure we don't use too much endurance, and I want to make sure we recharge our powers quickly. In Siphon Life, we're going to want to do... We're probably not going to put damage enhancers on Siphon Life. We're probably going to put recharge, endurance, accuracy. We might put some heal on it to heal us up more, because we do enough damage already. Oh, we're being ambushed. Okay, so we're going to stay right here and let them come to us so that we don't aggro the other mob, and that's fine. Family is not too terrifying as an organization. The family are mostly restricted to smashing and lethal damage. They are probably reducing my defense a bit, yep, because when they shoot you, that's minus defense. Come on, back. Yeah, I'm trying not to aggro those guys, and I aggro them anyway. Alright, well, so we're going to fight without... We're just going to be a scrapper for now. As we go, I do want to talk about another comment that I heard Luke Hart make that absolutely, this one I agree with completely. So in the last episode, we talked about some advice that Luke Hart gave that I didn't necessarily... I don't say I disagreed with, but I feel like it was pretty specialized advice for special cases of people who have a circumstance very similar to his. And if you don't have a circumstance like his, then you might not be able to use his pointers very well. And that was about stuff like if you're getting a lot of criticism from your players and that kind of thing. So again, I didn't completely disagree with him. I just feel like his advice has limited utility for many people. That as just a matter of practicality, most people don't have the luxury to do what he was describing, right? To solve the problem the way he was suggesting. But in this most recent, but in that same video, I finished watching it, and he made another comment that I actually completely agreed with. And that's the boss over there. And he was talking about challenging players and that sort of thing. And so what he was asked... Oh, another ambush. It's weird that they timed him this way, but okay. He was asked and I like this question, so I'll talk about that question too. Luke was asked, if your players have some item in their inventory that they got a while ago, and they've completely forgotten about it, but it would help them in their current situation, would you remind them about it or just let them deal? Right? You know, it's their responsibility to remember their own items. So Luke answered this question almost exactly the way I would have answered it. First of all, he said the odds, if they got it a long time ago and they've forgotten about it, the odds that I would remember it are actually pretty small. And that's true for me too, right? Unless it was a very special quest item that I gave them on purpose for a very special circumstance, and we're now in that circumstance, and I know that they have the item, I probably wouldn't remember it. But maybe I have in my notes that they have the item, and maybe I've noticed in my notes that they have the item, and it would help them a lot. Would I remind them? And Luke said he might if they were in very dire circumstances and they really needed that item. And I think I would say the same thing. Only if they're in very dire circumstances. Why? Because he said, I want the players to be challenged. I want it to be hard. And I don't necessarily want to make it easier for them just to make it easy. Right? And then he said something really, really accurate and insightful. Right? He said, I want to challenge my players. I like the game to be tough. But he said, and I agree with this, and this is true for pretty much all GMs, he said, I don't actually want them to lose, right? I want them to win. I want them to succeed. You know, he didn't say these examples, but like if you lay out a puzzle for them, you want them to solve the puzzle. If you have a skill challenge or a dramatic task for them, you want them to succeed at the skill challenge or the dramatic task. If it's a combat, you expect them most of the time, unless it's some kind of a setup where you want to capture the party and then the adventure is going to be them getting out of capture, and so they're supposed to lose the fight, which as a GM I would argue you should never ever do. If you want to start them captured, just say you wake up in a prison, right? I know it can be a little frustrating to the players that they had no quote-unquote agency to prevent themselves from getting captured, but if you put them into a fight that they're going to lose no matter what anyway, then they still actually don't have any agency, and it's going to prolong the frustration, right? If they wake up in a prison, most good players, I would say, should go along with that, right? Okay, we wake up in prison, let's deal with it. That's the premise of the circumstance that we're in, right? Most players will go along with it, even if they hate it. They hate it for 30 seconds, and then, okay, how do we solve the problem and get out of this, right? Whereas if you're talking about a battle, right, the battle might take you an hour and a half. The players are going to see very quickly that they are not going to be able to win the fight, and they're just going to be frustrated, right? After a couple of them go down, the rest of them are going to be really ticked off, and it just leads to a very unpleasant session because, okay, we just can't win this fight. It's an unfair fight, etc., etc. The question here is, why do we have this whole map? Well, we've already completed the mission. They're ambushing me and everything, and we've already completed the mission. This is hilarious. Was the boss not supposed to be there? Are they not ambushing me? What's going on? I thought they were ambushing. I guess it's just a patrol. What else is up here? It doesn't seem like there's any point to this. There's word balloon over there. Is that an ambush? Probably stupid wandering into this, but I'm curious. Are there more bosses? Because like if there's a boss, I want to fight the boss, but I already did one. Those are just minions. So yeah, Luke Hart's point was, he said, I don't actually want the players to lose. I want them to win. I set up challenges specifically designed for them to win the challenge, right, to succeed. He wants them to succeed. he said, I just don't want it to be easy. I want it to be hard. I want them to succeed, but I want it to be hard for them to succeed, because that's what makes it challenging and enjoyable, right? And I agree with that. That's my goal too, is to make it challenging, hopefully in a fun way, but I pretty much don't ever expect the players to fail, right? And like I said, I tend not to set up um, a, a, a setup where the players are going to get into a long battle that's going to automatically result in them losing, because the premise of the adventure is that you're starting out captured. No, I'm just going to start you out captured, right? So they do this in, what is it, Out of the Abyss or something, where you start out captured by the drow, and then you have, I think that's the name of the adventure, and then you have to, just waiting to hide, you have to escape from the Underdark, right? And the whole entire campaign is traveling through the Underdark from place to place to place, as you probably go from deeper to shallower in the Underdark, and my guess is at the end you get out, right? And so the entire adventure takes place underground in the Underdark, based on the premise that you start out a captive, right? And so I would absolutely not start out, let's say the drow are capturing you, having a party getting ambushed by the drow and being captured by them, because all that would do is frustrate the players. But if the challenge is to get out, I don't mind making them prisoners and then having it be very hard to figure out how to escape, right? But I mean, after all, the premise of that mission, that adventure, is after escaping, you have to travel and adventure through the Underdark, and there are all these maps for you to follow, as far as I understand it, right? Again, I've played it or run it, um, but yeah, the authors of that module assumed that the characters would successfully escape from capture, right? So um, we generally set challenges to be overcome, right? We want the players to succeed, and um, so when it comes to, is there an item that could help them, would I remind them? Well, if I think that the only way they're going to succeed is if I remind them, then maybe. Right? A lot of whether I help out the players can have to do whether they are suffering from their own foolishness or negligence. If they are, then I'm much less likely to help them. Doesn't happen much with my group because they're really good. But if the players are being stupid and like not following up on clues and things like that, well, I don't necessarily feel like I need to help you out, right? If you're not checking your inventory to see if there's a potion or a magic item that might be of use, that's kind of on you. And I also agree with Luke. The odds that I'm going to remember it when you don't are like almost zero, because I have so much crap to remember as a GM, and you as a player have only your character sheet to deal with. So if you can't remember what your character does, it's going to be very hard for me to remember it. That's why the rule at most gaming tables is you're responsible for everything about your character. If the GM, assigns you, if you're playing Savage World and the GM gives you a level of fatigue, the GM should not have to remember that you have a -1 penalty everything you do. You're supposed to remember that. And if you don't, then you are being sort of derelict in your duty as a player, right? Because, oh man, I forgot there's Striga Island, isn't there? Because your job as a player is to keep track of what your character is doing, right? All of your penalties, all of your bonuses, you're supposed to do that, and you're supposed to do it accurately and correctly and honestly and everything else. You shouldn't be cheating. You shouldn't be trying to get bonuses when you're not supposed to, or ignore penalties when they're supposed to be applied, right? So, so yeah, I might help them out if I felt like they really needed the help. If they were going to lose the challenge, fail at the challenge, then I would probably help them out because I don't want them to fail, right? And I didn't set it up to fail. But on the other hand, you know, as a player, it's not as good for you if I have to win for you by solving the problem, right? Like, I set the problem up. If I solve it, that's cheating, right? That's like, it's not that hard for me to solve my own problem. I try to solve a problem that's a challenge for you to solve, or whoever the player is. And we're going to wait for Focus Chi to re-up here, or not Focus Chi, build up to re-up here, because I want to one-shot this guy. Now, we don't have to defeat everybody here, right? We have to just defeat the boss and disarm the bombs. I hear a bomb over here. So yeah, I agree with Luke about all of that. I think that, yes, as the GM, I do want to help players, but my goal is to challenge them. I want them to win, but I don't want them to win by me winning for them, right? I want them to win, whoops. I want them to win by figuring it out themselves, right? Solving the problem themselves. That's what's going to be satisfying to them and satisfying to me. Now, one thing you may notice is it's taking quite a few blows to take these guys out. That's because at this level, the game is sort of starting to expect me to have damage enhancers on my powers, right? And we don't. But the reason we don't is because there's just not enough enhancement slots to go around, right? We still need to put one in Power Shield. We still need to put stuff in Build Up and Placate to get them to recharge faster. And we had to put stuff in our Assassin Strike. So we're going to stay behind the curve a little bit until we can get a few more slots and get some damage enhancers on these powers. But it's probably going to be till like level 30. So I normally don't like to sue sorcerers, but if I can one-shot them, I'll be happy to take my revenge on them for being jerks. So yeah, I mean, if you're a game master, go ahead and post down there. What would you do if your players, if you knew, if you remembered that your players had an item in their inventory that would make them, that would help them to succeed in their current circumstance, and they've seemed to have forgotten about it and aren't talking about it and don't seem to remember they have it, would you remind them, hey guys, you know, you do have a portable hole, or guys, you do have a bag of holding, or guys, you do have a ring of invisibility. You haven't used it yet, but you do have it. Would you mention that to them, or would you just let them just, you know, it's their choice whether to use it or not, and they need to remember they have these items? Would it depend on whether they really needed it to succeed? Is this an important, you know, is it just a side quest, and if they don't do the side quest, it doesn't matter? Or is this the sort of thing where if they don't use this item, they might, they might actually all party wipe? Does that matter? Or is your answer just blanket, either yes or no? No matter what, I would never help them. That's up to them. It's on their character sheet. No matter what, I would remind them. Let's get the bomb and the boss, and then we'll see if we want to fight other people. But one of the reasons I am kind of going through this a little, I'm sort of stalking this mission. One of the reasons is that we're already level 24, and there might be some other story arcs I want to do. And I don't necessarily want to hit level 25 quite yet. Okay, so Big Tony is the boss. Big Tony. Alright, Big T. Time to Assassin Strike you. How do you like how it feels to have a hit put out on you, Tony? So we found a clue, and we're going to disarm the bomb. And we'll head out. Nice thing about a Stalker is you can just fight the battles you want to fight. Find the Magic Man. This isn't the finale, is it? Hang on. Clues. Mission. I don't think so. You know, just in case, since we have to go to Talos Island anyway, let's head to the base. Kind of wish that was the top thing on the list. Let's head to the base, and we're going to go to the nurse and grab some stuff. I think, just in case, we're going to take an extra catch breath, and we're going to do a pair of Lux. Extra catch breath, and let's do an extra luck. This way you have 3 Lux. Okay, and then we'll sell this stuff to her. These are level 25 enhancers, so when we get to level 30 recipes, I will start constructing them. So now Talos Island, one of my favorite places. And we're going to do this mission, and let's see how much time we've used. And 21 minutes. Okay, so we got some time. Maybe do a couple more missions. Find the Magic Man. Whoops. Okay. Well, this might be it. Yeah, defeat the Magic Man. This might be the ending. Let's see, do these guys have any resistances? Nope, doesn't look like it. 7 damage per blow. So you might wonder, why am I switching targets when I have this guy down to a sliver and I switch to Assassin Strike? And the reason is Assassin Strike can one-shot these guys. So if somebody's down to a sliver, there's not much point to using it. It's overkill. So I switch to the other guy, one-shot him, and then come back and finish off the guy that has most of his hit points down. That's the guy that's down most of his hit points. Yeah, so you can see they're about half. If I had the damage enhancers on all those powers, I would have had, he would have been defeated in those 3 shots, right? But because we haven't doubled the damage, because we don't have damage enhancers on it yet, we have to hit 3 more times, or with another Assassin Strike or something. That's just because we don't have damage enhancers on the powers, which of course really is, it's not that big of a deal. It's fine until we miss. Oh, there's a guy over here. Hang on, this guy's a lieutenant. Let's take him out. Hopefully this one will hit. There we go. Is there another guy with him? No, he's all by himself. Yeah, some of these spawns have been a little funny the last couple days. Don't usually find a lieutenant all alone. Usually they're with a white con minion. Sometimes they're alone, but more often than not, they're with a white con. There's that switch up again, because I knew this guy would go down in a couple of quick blows. You don't have to do that, of course. That's just, and I often don't. I often don't bother, but sometimes I do, when I think of it. So I hope you guys are enjoying, and I hope what you've seen shows that these guys solo really well in the low to mid levels, in the teens and 20s. They're great soloers. Basically zero danger, really, because you can attack whoever you want, whenever you want. Placate helps a lot with that. And these particular power sets are actually quite strong. Right, Energy Aura is very good, and Dark Melee is fantastic because it has that health transfer. That's amazing. And of course, as a Stalker, having the Assassin's Punch is always good. Hoplite, huh? I'm surprised you guys are educated enough to know what a hoplite is. The warriors. Yeah, but they're sort of like Greek based, don't they have don't they have villains with the names of Greek, like Menelaus and stuff, as bosses and lieutenants? I think that's true. It's just hilarious. This guy's just standing there, going through like, going through these like fight poses when all by himself with nobody around. That's hilarious. I feel like they've changed the animations on some of these guys too. Like when he pulls out the sticks and stuff. Didn't they used to just punch? Or they had weapons like axes and stuff, but I don't remember them having a staff. That's probably new. Click. Alright. Oh, another miss. Oh, he's just by himself, so we're just going to punch him. It's fine. So now with these guys, we're going to wait and go into hide, and then we can assassinate. Ah, another miss. Why was I not tracking it today, right? I was tracking it, and it looks like we were doing only missing 1 out of 20 when I was tracking it, and now that I'm not tracking it, I told you the game can hear what I'm saying. It knew I was tracking it, so it behaved itself. Now when I'm not tracking it, it's not behaving itself. Okay. So, I think there's been some changes to this mission. At one point, I could swear I remember fighting the Magic Man in one of these hallways. But the last couple times I fought him, he was in one of these ending rooms that has the blue carpet and the conveyor belts. So I'm assuming that that's where we're going to find him this time. If this is the mission where we finish it, I think it might be. Gotta remember to stop zooming out. There he is. Alright, let's make sure everything around him is clear, but there doesn't seem to be anybody around him. There are probably guys over here, right? But I don't think that matters. Alright, Magic Man. I'm gonna wait until our build-up recharges. Placate will help us here, because we might be able to placate the next one that comes in. And Mickey Magic Man Maloney is about to get his butt kicked. Now, so my recollection is that there are 3 of these. And I think the first time I ended up fighting 2 or 3 of them at once because I did not realize what was going to happen. Now I know what's going to happen, and we know to get this guy out fast. Okay, so he teleports away, and now his own self comes, right? But I can placate this guy, and then Assassins eclipse him. Alright, I'm missing a lot, so we're going to go accuracy. And we'll throw a little defense on just to help us out. Now another one's coming. Are you coming? Here he is. Can he see me? Apparently not. He knows I'm there, but he can't quite see me. Placate. Build up. Assassin Strike. Probably the easiest I've ever had so far. Now there's 2 more. Ah, right. This is why it's hard. Because there are so many of them. Right? You fight him 4 times. We're doing okay so far. Yeah, I think this is where the first time I fought this guy I got absolutely owned. Okay, so that's him, and now this is the last one. Assassinate him. Our luck has held up, literally. Yeah, he's a bit of a pain to hit. But we got him, and that is the mission. And we got reward merits, so that should be the story arc. Alright, let's head out. Contact Mercedes. We did your story arc. And we've almost leveled up. So now she has Crown of Glory. I think we're going to wait on that. So I'm going to pause here and take a look at what other story arcs there are and at this level, and we'll see if we want to do one before we get too high of a level to do it. Alright, we're back, and we're going to do Vic Garland because I believe he has the Iron Hand story arc. I don't know if this is the beginning of it. I don't think so. I think this is one of these one-offs that has kind of as sort of a named mission. We also got a level 24 accuracy, so let's just go ahead and pop that in, and that'll make Siphon Life hit better. We'll stop missing so much with it. These other things we can sell, right? Store. This might be worth something. This is a resist damage set. Let's see. I doubt it because it's low level, but whoops. Let's see if it's worth anything. Whoops. I always try to drag from there and you can't. That's the wrong thing. Recipes. Oop. Nope, not worth anything, so we'll just get it and sell it to him. It's only worth 111 influence. That's not worth it. He'll give me a lot more than that, 4,800. So there we go. We don't have any orange salvage, so we're ready to go. Let us go to Skyway City and work on the freak show. So I'm trying to get the Iron Hand mission, which is Iron Hand is an undercover cop who works for the freak show, and he basically turns traitor and joins the freak show. He's supposed to be, you know, informing on them and stuff. He's an undercover cop, but instead he ends up getting like addicted to Superidine or whatever they use and joining the freak show. So it's a pretty cool story arc, and at one point you get to dress up as a freak, which is kind of cool. They do that in several missions now, but I think that was the only one, and it was the first one of its kind. And I remember the first time I did it, it was very cool. I don't remember if that was in the original launch version of the game or if it came out later. I don't remember. It might be that the whole story arc was there except the part where you dress up as a freak. I feel like that came later, but I might be wrong about that. If anybody knows, feel free to let me know. 6 weapons caches. I think this might be part of this story arc. Not sure. Oh, did they see me? They saw me. Come on around, guys. Yeah. Let's play Kate. There you go. And I can still assassinate you. Did that not give me a full assassination? It looked like it didn't. I'm going to have to look back at the video. I always remember when I was playing, even like my martial arts scrappers and stuff, freak shows always drain your endurance. Not literally, although the electric ones do it technically, yes, but what makes drains your endurance is they dull pain, so it takes like an extra 3 or 4 punches to take them out, and then they res. So a spawn of 3, it's almost like fighting 6 guys. And I always had, even at this level, had endurance, even at higher levels, had endurance issues against the freak shows until I got into like my 30s. Now let's see here, because I feel like that built-up Assassin Strike did not do enough damage to that other guy. Let's see. Yeah, you should be able to one-shot them, and I didn't. He didn't get one-shotted, so... Alright, so Siphon Life is going to help us a little bit more now because we have the accuracy enhancer on it, so it should hit a lot more. We have about an 87% chance to hit these guys. And that was he +1, so that was level based, right? Because he's higher level. Elevator here, but we got to find the weapons caches. Did I miss one back here where I was fighting these guys? Did I forget it? No, I got both of these, right? Yeah, okay. But I had this weird feeling that I got so busy talking that I forgot to click on a glowy, which anybody who's watched my channel knows that happens a lot because I get distracted when I'm talking. And I've mentioned this before. You always play better when you're not talking to an audience and trying to split your attention between what you're saying, sort of monitoring a little bit what you're saying, try and make sure you're saying something coherent, interesting, not boring, not offensive, etc. And doing that takes some level of thought, and that's going to pull your brain power away from paying attention to the game. That's just automatically going to happen. Yeah, there's this one guy who talks about D&D and Pathfinder and running role-playing games and stuff, and he often talks as a GM about cognitive load, right? And there he's talking about how much cognitive load the adventure or the campaign or the module is putting on you as a GM. But for this, we could talk about cognitive load as, you know, the amount of cognitive effort required to both narrate, think about things to say, etc., and play the game. Right? It's not that City of Heroes requires a lot of cognitive load as a game by itself, especially as a Stalker, but doing both makes you less capable at either, right? Because you're having to split your attention and your cognitive abilities between two things. So I definitely make mistakes when I'm narrating that I would not make when I'm playing alone. And in fact, there are lots of times when I'm rewatching the videos. I rewatch the videos to try and get, see where I'm going to grab my screenshot from. I don't really have the knack of making good thumbnails, but I figured instead of just using the same thumbnail every time, I'll make slightly different ones. It's not hard to do in Photoshop, and that's fine. But as I rewatch, that does require a rewatch of the videos. Plus, I'm checking the audio and stuff, so I'm rewatching these videos. And there are lots of times when I see myself missing things, and I'm like, oh, I missed it. It was right there. How did I miss that? I didn't see it the first time through. Well, it's easier to notice it when you're just sitting back watching and you're not both playing and trying to think of something to say. Right? I mean, every once in a while I'll be playing and I realize it's been about 30 seconds and I haven't said anything. I should find something to talk about, right? Because otherwise you're just watching me play. And I don't know about you guys, and we've leveled up. I don't know about you guys, but every once in a while I'll see a Let's Play of a game that looks interesting, and if it's somebody who, is just playing the game without narrating it, I find that extremely uninteresting to watch, and I just click right off of it. But if the person's narrating it and they're being interesting about what they're saying, oftentimes I really enjoy that. All right, we are 25th level now, guys. We're halfway to level 50. By numbers, we're halfway through the game, although by XP, we're like 10% of the way through, because the higher levels require so much more XP than the lower levels. I actually calculated it once. I think I calculated how many minions it takes to level up. And I think around this level, if I'm not mistaken, who's shooting at me? See what I mean about how guys from above can actually notice you? Come on, come over here. Come over here. Okay, now placate. So what was I saying? See, now I've completely forgotten what I was saying. We were talking about cognitive load. Guys, I just like totally lost the train of thought. Sorry. Oh, yes. How many minions it takes, White-Con minions it takes to level, and I went through and I actually calculated. Oh, is this my buddy? Yes! The owner to Winixers. This is a special mission where you can get a clue, or like a souvenir or a badge. Excellent. Let's make sure we hit him. Yeah, and I think it was at this level, I can't remember. At the time, in live, whatever level it was somewhere in the 20s, I believe. It took over 1,000 minions to level up, just based on XP. He might res, so let's wait. We can fight him again. He did not. Okay, so we now just need to find the weapons caches. I thought I heard one down here. Yep. There's one. Is the other one on the other level? I don't hear anything. Let's go downstairs. There might be an asterisk downstairs. Maybe I missed it. Yeah, so the way to do this was rewards. So it was 63 XP to defeat a minion, right? And we need 83,900. Now these are blue cons, but let's just, just how to do this. We need 83,000, say 84,000 XP, right, to level up. And there's 63 XP per minion. That means 1,333 minions it would take to level up. And the reason I did that calculation, of course, back then, was there was no mission bonus XP. So basically, you had to defeat 1,333 minions. Period. Right? Now, again, that's blue cons. If it's white con, it's probably 80 XP, so you probably have to defeat like 1,100 of them, which I think it was about this level. I think I had figured it out from levels like 20 to 25, and I was just furious at how many they were making us do. It just felt very grindy. And when you get into the 30s, it's like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, right? So I got annoyed at that, actually, and I complained about it. But this was right around the time when they were talking about giving mission XP, and once they did that, that made things a little more interesting. So I don't know now that we're level 24 if we're going to get this story arc from this guy. So we might just have to move on. And I think Laura Bernetti, let me check, but I think Laura Bernetti might give Scroll of Tieleku. If so, she becomes my top priority. Yes, she does. Laura Bernetti Oh, we're already on a story arc for Mercedes? This is annoying. So I just looked. I just said ask about available missions. I didn't take the story arc, and it gave it to me anyway. That it shouldn't do. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Laura Bernetti for the next story arc because I want to get Scroll of Teleku absolutely first. That's top priority for me. That is a must-have story arc. I love that story arc. So we're going to go see her, but first we're going to level up. So let's go to IP since Independence Port, since we are going to have to be there to talk to Laura anyway. The level up person is over here by the hospital. Aurora Borealis. And 2 slots. Finish that one. Huh. Yep, Siphon Life, I guess. Okay, we're 25th level, guys, and we're going to go to Laura Bernetti, who's actually right near here. Isn't she? Yeah, she's right by the train station. And we're going to start working this story arc, this contact, until she gives us the Scroll of Teleku. This is a time mission, so we're going to leave that until next time. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We're level 25 with our Stalker, and we've done really well. We only had one faceplant, and that was when I was stupid and I had the wrong guy targeted. And other than that, we've done really great, I think. Oh, we now at level 25 have an extra row of inspirations, so we can fill those up. Let's go ahead and do that. Right? 1, 2, 3. So this is how I like to generally run. And then 1, 2, 3. Whoops, no, took one too many. And 1, 2, 3. That is what I like. We don't need these. We don't need that. And there we go, guys. So we're all set. Let's take a look. We now have 5.9, almost 6 million influence. And we should have something like 8 million, 7 million-ish by the time we get to level 27, and we need to buy a new set of enhancements. At that point, we'll take a look and see if there are any level 30 recipes in our inventory. There probably won't be at 27 because the mobs drop recipes closest to their level. They go every 5 levels. So level 27 enemies will drop 25 preferentially. Level 28s will start occasionally dropping 30s. 29s and 30s will start dropping 30s, but the 27s that we're going to be fighting at level 27 probably won't. So my guess is we're going to have to probably wait till level 32 to start slotting in our level 30 invention generics. But we'll just see what we get. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and again, always leave comments if you want. If you have questions, if you have anything you'd like me to talk about, if you like my rants and you have something you want me to rant about, go ahead and mention it. I can't promise to rant about what you want because I may not have a rant in me about that. If it's something I think I've ranted about already, I might point you to a previous video rather than repeating it for the small number of people who watch me regularly. I don't think they need to hear me rant about the same thing over again. But yeah, let me know. That's just a temporary power there. Let me know if there's stuff you want me to talk about, and I will do my best to comply. Until next time, I am Scarperlock, and this has been Soloing the Stalker on City of Heroes.